At number 10, we have her forced marriage with Will Smith. Now, agree or disagree, but Jada herself has declared she got married unwillingly, and here's why. Much like everything else, Jada has openly discussed never wanting to initially marry Will, and because of this, a lot of people have made claims that Jada was wed under duress. However, Jada chalked it up to a far more reasonable explanation, and this was her being young and pregnant at the time. It's been stated how Jada's mother pushed her to tie the knot because she was fearful that Jada would never have the opportunity to get married if she didn't make that decision. Despite Jada's disapproval, the wedding still happened, and she never wanted a traditional marriage but had to compromise for Will's sake. She was going through various emotions at her 3-month term mark and even cried while going down the aisle because she was so angry with the idea of getting married. Not only was Jada against her marriage in general, she also disapproved of Will's luxurious lifestyle, and it's been detailed by sources that she was genuinely upset with Will when he bought their grand family home. If one didn't know any better, you could say their entire relationship seems forced at this point, but that's just a conspiracy theory and quite frankly, none of my business. At number 9, we have Jada being a huge attention seeker. Now this one is more of an observational theory rather than hard facts, but have you ever noticed how overly expressive she becomes when speaking about really personal things? Or how often she tries to shift the attention onto herself when it's really not about her? Well, maybe not, but according to multiple sources, this is exactly how Jada is, and they've used how she describes love to be one of their reasonings. Jada once said, the older she becomes, the more she's discovering what love truly is. Now there really isn't any harm in that statement, right? Maybe not. But it does say a lot about one's character when they've single-handedly used their deceased ex-lover and friend as a scapegoat for attention when they fall short. At least this is what those sources are saying about Jada, and that's putting it nicely. She's been described as somebody who drags Tupac's name through interviews at any given chance, where a lot of the times her late ex isn't even the topic of discussion, and Jada would just randomly mention him whenever she felt there was no spotlight on her. Again, this is more speculation, but why else would she continuously bring up someone she was close to who passed away? Wouldn't it hurt more to talk about them 24/7 rather than rarely or not at all? It's also been revealed that Jada got super pissed at Will at her 40th birthday party, which Will had been planning for 3 years prior. He had surprised her with a documentary he commissioned that chronicled her life. One would think this gesture of appreciation would work out in Will's favor, but it didn't. Jada and Will had it out after the party, and the incident was said to have popped off in their hotel when Will was reportedly shouted at and told that the event was one of the most disgusting displays of ego Jada had ever seen in her life. As a result, she and Will separated, as Will told her he was retiring from making her happy. I mean, that's one sure way to suck all the good vibes out of the room. At number 8, we have Jada's manipulation tactics. Now this is a big one, because of everything I looked into regarding Jada, the word manipulation came up a scary amount of times. Reasons why she's been referred to as such range from a multitude of things, many of which have to do with her husband. There's Jada's lack of reassurance to Will of her and Tupac's actual relationship at the time, to her claims that she and Tupac only kissed once and that there was nothing more there. But it was apparent Tupac had feelings for Jada. Yet Jada's own description of their relationship was quote weird. Jada no doubt strung Will along by being manipulative once she and Will started dating by casually trying to play off her situation with Tupac. In doing this, she had both their support and attention, hence the manipulation tactic. Jada used this excuse of not defining her relationship openly as an advantage for herself. With both of them by her side, the situation was manipulated to the point where no one could speculate any wrongdoing from her, while she still got what she wanted in the end. Some even say that Jada forced Will to transition to an open marriage down the road as another manipulation tactic for her being forced to marry him originally.
Number 7. Started a cult. Let's get into one of the biggest issues here when it comes to Leto. With an already well-established acting career under his belt by 1998, it was then that he decided to start up his very own rock group called 30 Seconds to Mars alongside his brother Shannon Leto. And while it may have started as an innocent exploration into new career paths, things took a turn for the worst when the band began to gain a large following, with many pointing out that it started looking more and more like a cult. In 2013, Leto joked about the situation during an interview with New York Times magazine, stating that the whole thing had been a joke and just a response to journalists calling them a cult. However, as the years progressed, it seemed to be anything but a joke. In 2019, Leto and the band hosted a Croatian getaway retreat, which sparked further rumors of the nature of the fandom. Photos that surfaced from the event showed Leto and fans alike wearing similar white outfits and throwing up strange hand symbols. Not to mention that Leto himself was wearing an all-white ensemble and looked eerily similar to Jesus with his beard and his hair. In a photo posted by the band's very own Twitter page, the caption even read, "Yes, this is a cult."
At number 6, we have Jada's responsibility for her polygamous marriage. Will and Jada are currently in what we call an open relationship, which basically just means they're free to see and be with whoever they please but can't leave each other. Will stepped forward to disclose multiple times that he and Jada's marriage for them cannot feel like a prison. And this stemmed from rumors of Jada engaging in an affair with her Hawthorne castmate Mark Anthony, who was married to Jennifer Lopez at the time of their then unconfirmed incident. Jada's inappropriate affairs, despite not being full-blown, were said to be the cause of her and Will's marriage being forced open. Basically, so Jada could mess around with other people without catching any of the blame or downfall. So long as Will agreed, of course. Which he did, by the way. And this may just be related to his previous statement of him saying he and Jada simply cannot get divorced.
Number 5. Insensitive comments. To give you some background on why everyone felt that JLo was trashing belly dancing. So, a part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assume represented the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But she apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this, and said, quote, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wants something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused about why that was so controversial, essentially she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering the fact that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and it's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese Syrian Arab roots.
At number 4, we have Jada and her top-level narcissism. A user on Quora once described Jada as a histrionic, borderline narcissist, and their opinion on it in short is that Jada provokes Will's touch of feminism nature to bruise his ego. This user even explained why they feel Will has narcissistic tendencies and may even be one himself. They said, "When you are involved with a highly narcissistic person, your mind is not your own." Jada said to Will, "We're ride or die, bad marriage till the end." I knew then, they're both narcs. Will's masculinity suffered a narcissistic injury when Jada had a fling with a troubled young musician, a friend of her kid. Then Will went on Red Table to discuss it and she emasculated him. Will was triggered in the beginning by her obsession with Tupac. He took all of it out on Chris Rock when Jada gave him that look that triggered him to slap Chris. Chris was an easier target, that's my theory. Now, if we reel back to the public sharing of Willow's letter to Tupac, it made people feel like Jada was super self-absorbed for exploiting her daughter for her own selfish reasons. One YouTuber even commented on a video regarding Jada's behavior with the following: "This woman somehow thinks she's a higher power, just out there healing the world, while realistically destroying all those close to her like narcissists do." Big yikes.
Number 3. Called out on Twitter. Leto really seemed to be getting some backlash in the era of the Me Too movement. It seemed that out of his fellow Hollywood celebrities, not everyone was willing to be silent when they heard that he was behaving inappropriately towards young women. In 2018, Suit Life of Zack and Cody star Dylan Sprouse came forward on Twitter to directly accuse Leto of those exact things and bring the disturbing allegations to light. Sprouse tweeted, quote, "Jared Leto, now that you've slid into the DMs of every female model aged 18 to 25, what would you say your success rate is?" As you would have predicted, the tweet totally blew up and many people were happy he was finally getting called out. The situation quickly escalated when Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn tweeted the following as an answer to Sprouse's initial tweet: "He starts at 18 on the internet?" Although the tweet has since been deleted, many users managed to grab a screenshot beforehand and notes that this was not the first time Gunn tried speaking about Leto's predatory behavior either. In fact, in June of 2015, the director reportedly did a live stream on the video app Periscope in which he made similar remarks about the actor's habits of sleeping with people that are.
At number 2, we have one of Hollywood's biggest drama queens. Well, maybe that's a bit of a stretch here, but Jada is known for being one for the dramatics, and that's been noted because of her household full of drama. However, it's also been detailed that both Will and Jada are equally responsible for the drama that occurs in their home. Still, with all of Jada's major backlash every time she speaks, and being labeled as messy and difficult due to her outing intimate details of her relationship to the public with no real remorse for Will's feelings, it's safe to say that the majority of the public is leaning on the side of Jada being the chaos enabler. At number 1, we have Jada's lack of boundaries. This one is a no-brainer, I'm sure, because we all know Jada has a tendency to air it all out, whether it's intentional or not. Jada has been described as someone who overshares too much to the public, and this severely impacts her family. She's not very private about anything, which shows there are no boundaries in her relationships overall. In particular, she has no respect for Will by exposing everything about their relationship, which is just tasteless. And before you say this is unfair, we literally know everything we do know about them now because of Jada. She was the one who admitted to infidelity, which really should have been something Will was warned about before it went public, since Will was clearly caught off guard by the news of August telling the world he gave them permission. She was also the one talking openly about her intimacy once while her mother was present. Jada also constantly speaks so horribly about her marriage in general, so I'm sure you get the point now.
Number 10. Sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the women for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J-Lo was really mad about though is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform, but judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they asked her to share the stage at all. Number 9. Cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. I mean, these two just got married this year, after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago, but the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag, and it included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Glee alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accused J-Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Glee. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she'd just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing to her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Number 8. Music theft. The star has been accused of stealing and borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. One of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J-Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J-Lo, that she worked on with Irv Gotti, but the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you can still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version.
At number 7, we have all the toxic energy which seems to surround Jada. I mean, seriously, get this girl some sage or something, because I'm positive many people will mutually agree with me. And the craziest part, there's lots of proof to back up the theory that Jada is just straight up toxic. One One example is her IG post with her and Will's marriage counselor. Now there are a few things to get into from this one video, but to keep things short and sweet, Jada started rolling without even asking Will if he was ready. This raised a lot of concerns about how their marriage operates behind closed doors. Jada also called Will foolish and constantly made it seem as if his opinions were invalid during this. So despite many people thinking Jada is great, there are a whole lot more who feel she is one of the most toxic, foul Hollywood celebs out there, with good reason. There's also the accusation that Jada was behind Willow's letter to Tupac post, which randomly arose on Instagram and was deleted shortly after. The moral of the point here is that Jada knows she can do whatever she wants without repercussions, and Will always be by her side to fight. So she'll never leave or actually change her ways, and to me, that's toxic AF. If you ask anybody, people say Jada's overall attitude towards Will is actually because he was never anything more to her than a rebound. But we'll get into that in just a minute.
Number 6. The Marc Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere and it seemed like fans loved the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000, while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck roughly around the same time. But the on-again off-again couple picked their romance back up while Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not J-Lo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, and she said, quote, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had history, but he should have put way more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault here. Number 5. Joker mayhem. Several other actors who have shared the screen with Leto have famously spoken up about what it was like working alongside the bizarre actor. Like in 2016, when Leto found himself the subject of yet another controversy due to his strange and uncomfortable methods of preparing for his role as the Joker in the Suicide Squad. It seems like the actor has really built a reputation of being difficult to work with, because he just takes it too far when preparing for a role. As a way to connect with his character, Leto would send wildly inappropriate gifts to his co-stars, such as dead animals, objects that are meant to be used in the bedroom, and items that are highly contaminated, all in the name of a prank. The backlash Leto experienced due to the vulgar gifts he sent his Suicide Squad castmates was not well received by the actor at all. During a 2016 interview with E!, he attempted to justify his actions, much to his co-star's disdain, after having described him as jarring. Quote, "I did a lot of things to create a dynamic, to create an element of surprise, of spontaneity, and to really break down any kind of walls that there may be there. The Joker is somebody who doesn't really respect things like personal space or boundaries. But honestly, what was the point of disturbing his co-stars to such a degree? The movie also bombed, and many critics pointed to his performance as part of the reason why." Number 4. Avoiding the Bronx. This one, train wreck of an ad campaign, led people to openly mock both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. The central premise of the ad was that sometimes J-Lo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which had been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. A press release at the time even stated that she would be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad, and that a body double stand-in was used instead, calling it, quote, "such a breathtaking assemblage of urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly.
At number 3, we have Jada's infidelity. Of course, she was out of line by her entanglement with August Alsina, especially likely because he was her son's friend and most likely vulnerable at the time. Plus, her messy affair with the R&B singer was later revealed by Will to have occurred after he and Jada were already separate. Despite this, Jada admitted to this affair of cheating when she and Will were not together but still married. But how she went about it was weird given what Will confirmed. She first made claims that Will gave his blessing for their affair, but the internet did not agree. It wasn't until Will publicly stepped forward to admit that Jada wasn't the only one being unfaithful that social media decided to ease up, though not by much. Still, people think Will's admission was a way to save face, but also to touch back on the rumors surrounding him and his Focus co-star Margot Robbie engaging in an affair of their own. Will's admission that he didn't give Jada permission to date because they weren't even together means their words, stories, and sides just aren't adding up. Regardless, Will says nothing Jada will do can ever change things for them now that they're open, because these were the terms they came to from the jump. Will and Jada are no longer described as married, but as life partners instead. It's been detailed that Will may just be playing Jada's game because he doesn't want to lose her for good.
Number 2. Accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, J-Lo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and Own Radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-bomb that she drops in her final verse. The issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much so that 10 years later, in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest duets of all time list. But rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term, not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success, where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans. Using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. Quote, "For anyone who thinks or suggests that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me." Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by Ja Rule himself, and apparently he encouraged her to say it. And number 1, fired a maid. This one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Frey Dodaj was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany, during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of J-Lo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door in Dusseldorf to ask for an autograph, and was promptly turned away. Frey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, quote, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Made in Manhattan. After receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, quote, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful. Number 10. New York Post article. Let's start things off with one of the earliest red flags we really should have caught. This one goes on all the way back to 2005, when a New York Post article written about Jared Leto's controversial behavior as a celebrity opened up with the line, quote, "Jared Leto likes him young." This was truly one of the earliest references to alleged concerning behavior, and it goes to show you that people were starting to pick up on his strange dating habits from early on. The article claimed that Leto was more than just a regular Hollywood playboy, but that he was, quote, aggressively pursuing many of the teen models shacked up at the Maritime Hotel while in town with his band 30 Seconds to Mars. According to the article, the actor, who at the time was most known for his breakout role in Requiem for a Dream, had become infamous for calling and texting some of his underage objects of desire several times a day. A source close to the star told the article that Leto was constantly texting underage girls and even called it a little creepy. Although the article didn't really affect Leto's work very much, it's still strange that his behavior has been an open secret in Hollywood for quite some time. Number 9. Extreme method acting. The controversy surrounding Leto's extreme method acting recently came back to light with the release of his latest film Morbius. Leto was well known to be someone who often takes method acting to the extreme and has been harshly criticized for it by many in the industry, and it's not difficult to see why. In order to prepare for his role as Dr. Michael Morbius, Marvel's very first on-screen vampire, Leto would reportedly remain in character for the duration of the shoot, even pretending to be disabled in between takes and using his character's crutches even on his bathroom breaks. While speaking to a Prox magazine, Morbius director Daniel Espinosa confirmed this and even added how Leto's technique became a problem on set as the actor would take too long to move around between each scene. Espinosa then added that Leto had to be given a wheelchair to move around for the sake of speeding him up because his antics on set were actually wasting a lot of time. But this left many people who have seen the film to wonder, all that for Morbius? I mean, the film was a critical and box office failure, so it's difficult to see how all that extra preparation was worth it. Number 8. The fan tattoos. Leto's band 30 Seconds to Mars are known for having an intimidatingly large and devoted following, but it seems some of the interactions between the band and the fans often push that relationship too far. When they were gearing up to begin production on a new video, the band invited fans to get lyrics of the song tattooed on themselves in order to feature in a clip, a move that even the fans themselves have branded as irresponsible. According to a post on the band's website, in order to be eligible for the video, fans must submit footage of themselves quoting to a camera, "I am the echelon," which is the name given to the band's group of fans. They also had to include footage of their tattoo before, during, and after it was healed, as well as write a paragraph on why they're getting the piece. The band, led by Leto himself, know full well how much influence they have over their fans, so encouraging young ones to get tattoos just for the purpose of a few seconds of footage can be seen as reckless. Considering this was only one instance of the many times the band has crossed the lines in regard to their fans, it's safe to say that the group was always comfortable taking advantage of the trust and adoration of their followers. Number 7. Makeup artist feud. Scott Barnes, who worked for JLo for the past 20 years, has had to deal with so much of the star's crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, the star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist, Scott Barnes, after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, when asked about how JLo treated him, he said, quote, "It was like I had the plague." But interestingly enough, eventually she ended up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, quote, "I went right back to work with her and we just never spoke about it again," which is even weirder. The funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remain on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize for it. Number 6. Scamming fans. Another way the band's following resembles a real-life cult is all the money. Not only did the 2019 event fuel the conspiracy theories of the actor leading a cult, but the huge prices for these cult-like getaways also sparked further controversy as Leto came under fire for taking advantage of his power and influence to get money out of his young fans. A separate retreat in Malibu that same year charged fans a whopping $999 to camp outside for 2 nights with tents that they themselves had to provide and no other supplies included. I mean, the cheapest available option for a solo room was $6,499 for a VIP experience, or whatever that means. That's not the only event that fans had to shell out exorbitant amounts of money to pay for. There have been claims that the rock band has charged fans as much as $900 for meet and greet sessions, according to one blogger who allegedly attended such an event in 2013. Just as a little comparison, Rihanna only charged $116 in 2015, and Taylor Swift has always made it a point to make her meet and greets free. But their dedicated fans don't really seem to mind the high price tags because so many posted on Twitter about it afterwards and said that although the price was a little bit overboard, the experience was ultimately worth it. I find that really hard to believe.
At number 5, we have the whole Future IG story mess, where Future made comments on Will and Jada's marriage after Jada opened up about intimacy on one of her Red Table talks to explain how a partner should know what she wants in the bedroom. Future first got involved after online memes started circulating about Will needing to hang out with him, who has a reputation for being involved with multiple women all the time, which implied that Will should learn to be more like Future in that sense. During her RTT, Jada described her partner's need to love her enough to know every part of her, which netizens thought implied Will didn't love her the way she was demanding. Twitter users also took her statements literally, which in turn sparked the whole debate of whether or not she embarrassed Will by saying she'd really bring Future to the Red Table. Charlemagne the God even questioned on his show once if Will was ever jealous of Jada and Tupac's relationship, where Will speaks about being insecure because of their tight bond.
Number 4, the sleepover competition. This one really solidified the band's reputation as creepy. In 2013, 30 Seconds to Mars were promoting their 4th studio album, Love, Lust, Faith and Dreams, with a really weird and completely inappropriate giveaway. The winner of said competition would get to spend what the band called, quote, a magical night in Leto's bed at his home. Yes, you heard that right. The prize of the competition was actually called a sleepover, which you could potentially win if you paid in advance for their album. That's not even the craziest part of all this. There were reportedly 6 lucky winners for the sleepover, and one of them ended up being chosen to sleep in Jared's bed. The winner, who just went by Tess, later posted on her blog that Leto's bed was actually a coffin. I mean, talk about red flags. While the premise of the competition was crazy, apparently travel was included and so were vegan pancakes. This goes to show you that Leto is acutely aware of the degree of fan dedication. In 2013, he actually said, quote, "If people like 30 Seconds to Mars, they really, really like it. We have this cult, this family, these believers." It's this knowledge that has given the band a sense of entitlement which is so ingrained that they feel that they can get away with pretty much anything when it comes to their fans. Number 3, the movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined JLo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. She basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do. So I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. And I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." It was so ironic because JLo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than JLo, so there was no real comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Yikes. Number 2, misconduct towards celebrities. One of the more serious allegations that Leto faced was his misconduct towards underage celebrities. In an article published by Screenshot Media, an even further accusation towards Leto was highlighted. The more recent backlash for the actor began after he was posing with pop star Olivia Rodrigo at the Grammy Awards and quickly came under fire on social media after users noted the string of allegations against Leto, including accusations that he constantly harassed young women and started a cult with his band 30 Seconds to Mars. 19-year-old Rodrigo took home 3 Grammys from that Sunday night award show, including Best New Artist that was actually presented to her by Leto. At the show, Rodrigo and Leto posed together for a few now viral photos, one showing them shaking hands and one showing Leto's hand on Rodrigo's waist. Twitter users criticized the show's decision to invite Leto to present given the current allegations. They also pointed out the fact that she is in the same age group as the other alleged victims that have come forward about Leto. Number 1, underage fans. Leto allegedly has a tendency to not only target underage models and celebrities, but also his own underage fans. A now deleted article by Evangeline Van Houten titled "Another Cosby," a reminder that several women have accused Jared Leto, highlighted one of Leto's super fans and their alleged experiences of sleeping with the actor. In fact, a number of victims, all underage, described the same scenario with Leto, and some of the allegations even suggested that the singer acted despite a lack of consent or continued even when asked to stop. One account stated, quote, "He never asked me if I was ever okay or comfortable with anything he wanted to do, simply because he is not the person to care." The actor/frontman once told Entertainment Tonight that he's found fans asleep in his bed. The strange comment has left many to wonder just how it is that they got there in the first place. But most troublingly, despite all the allegations now surfacing against Leto, they have yet to make any real impact upon his career or his ability to work in Hollywood.